Good afternoon. My name is Tony, aka the Weather Professor, and I want to thank you for joining me once again as we continue our updates on the hurricane as we are in the just past the peak of the hurricane season, which was last weekend. The September the 11th through the 14th, in which many in Florida and many in the Caribbean experienced the wrath of Hurricane Irma. But now, following on Hurricane Irma's footsteps, are along the same path, we have Hurricane Maria here, as you can see. Hurricane Maria is currently located about, let's say, as of the 5 p.m. advisory, it's about coming closing in on Dominica, the island of Dominica. Rousseau was the capital of Dominica, and it's closing in on the eye is closing in on that. Right now, it's a Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 130 miles an hour, and the eye will be passing near Dominica sometime this afternoon or tonight, probably by 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. That eye will be passing by the island of Rousseau, Dominica. So if you have family in there or friends there, please keep them in your prayers as the eye passes by the island. It won't be a direct hit, but it'll be close to that as it comes by and gets into the eastern Caribbean Sea. The waters here are still very warm. We're talking about 84, 85 degrees, the perfect fuel for Maria to grow and to strengthen. So Maria will continue to strengthen for the next 12 to 24 hours. It could possibly reach Category 5 strength because it doesn't have much land interaction until it gets to Puerto Rico. So here's the bottom line. As you can see the timeline, you can see the graph. I'm going to try to explain to you some of the dynamics. First of all, what's happened with Maria so far. Started off with a tropical storm, came on the same path as Irma, coming across the African coast all the way through the Atlantic Ocean. It will remain a major hurricane. It's moving currently northwest northwest at about 9 miles, 10 miles an hour. Okay, so some of the affected areas that we're really concerned about this time around, versus when Hurricane Irma came through. I think the Virgin Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, and Montserrat, Saint Saba, Saint Martin, they'll be fine. There will be some tropical storm force winds and rain, probably in the range of 30 to 60 miles an hour, and there will be torrential rain. But you will be out of the hurricane force winds because this storm, the hurricane force winds, only extend out about 15 miles from the center. This red represents the hurricane force winds. The orange represents the tropical storm force winds. Tropical storm force winds extend out about 175 to 200 miles from the center. So this would makes Hurricane Maria different from Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Irma had hurricane force winds extending out some 45 to 60 miles at its widest point when it made its approach into the U.S. This storm only has hurricane force winds, those winds above 75 miles an hour that can cause destruction and some damage, only 15 miles. So that's good news for now. Now, as you can see, some of the computer models here are forecasting it to come up through Puerto Rico, even the eastern side of Puerto Rico may take a direct hit. We're very concerned about that. So those in San Juan, those in Loquillo, Puerto Rico, Vieques, Culebra, some of the islands of Puerto Rico, you need to be very concerned. This could be a direct hit for you as a Category 4 hurricane, meaning winds above 130 miles an hour could be coming in there. So those in Puerto Rico, we're very concerned about a direct hit from you as this Maria transverses the Leeward Islands up northern Leeward Islands here, as Irma did. As you can see, the models take it here into the Atlantic Ocean. Why it's going through this pattern here is because what's called a high pressure system. Um, in meteorology, a low pressure system such as the hurricane or that rotates counterclockwise like this. A high pressure system rotates clockwise. So the hurricane is going to take the path of least resistance, kind of like water. When you teach in science, water takes the path of least resistance. A hurricane takes the path of least resistance. So the steering current that is steering this storm that the computer's picking up on is a high pressure, and that rotates around what's called the Bermuda Azores High. The same thing that stirred Irma last week is stirring this storm. And so, because the high is up here, or sometimes they call it a ridge, is up here, it's going like this, it's stirring clockwise. So, the storm is on the bottom of that high pressure and it's going clockwise like that. It's rotating around. So, it's feeling that. So, it's moving at 9, 10 miles an hour. It's going to cross Puerto Rico, get into the Bahamas, and then from here, it can either go up and curve out to sea, which right now most of the computer models are kind of forecasting, or it can continue on this path and get close to the Carolina coast or to up the Delmarva coast and maybe affect the U.S. United States. It's too early to tell. This is some 5 or 6 days out. We're talking before it gets up here. We're talking like say the end of this week, Saturday or Sunday before it'll be up in this point here. That's a lot of distance. But for the immediate people here, we want to say that Hurricane Maria will continue to be a strong storm. The islands will be okay this time around, but we are concerned about Puerto Rico getting a direct hit. Dominica is taking a beating right now because they're in the gist of it. Martinique will be fine. Guadeloupe will be fine. There will be, like I said, there'll be torrential downpours, and most of this weather for these islands, for the islands of Dominica, Martinique, um, Guadeloupe, and the islands south of there, Grenada, Barbados, the weather should be improving by tomorrow night. Actually, tomorrow afternoon, the weather will be improving. So the storm will be past you by then because it's moving at a pretty good clip, 10 miles an hour. So what we continue to expect here is for this storm, as I said, to continue to move. Now, once it interacts with Puerto Rico, we don't know if it's going to weaken or strengthen some more because Puerto Rico is mountainous. But it will dump a lot of torrential rain on possibly Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and possibly the northern coast of Haiti as well. And that could cause flash flooding in these areas because these areas are very mountainous and it doesn't take much rain. It's going to be dumping a lot of rain, possibly up to 5 to 8 inches, 10 inches of rain on some of these areas. And so we just have to wait and see what happens here as far as that forecast. But if you're in the islands, just be generally be prepared. The good news is, like I said, the blessing is that this time around it won't be a full-fledged hurricane on these islands. Besides Dominica, we will possibly see hurricane force winds, but like I said, the winds only extend 15 miles out from the center, so they may not even see the worst of it. The eye is just gonna skirt past tonight, and that eye wall. And so what we're really concerned about is Puerto Rico, who's going to look to get a direct hit probably by Wednesday afternoon. So those, and tell your family and friends who are there, who are stationed there, who friends in Loquillo, uh, and Mayaguez, San Juan, Carolina, places like that, and of course the islands of Caribe, Vieques, and possibly those in the U.S. Virgin Islands and St. Thomas, St. Croix will experience a heavy rainfall and torrential lightning and winds as the storm passes and makes its approach up into Puerto Rico. And so that's going to be crucial. It could still be a Category 4 when it gets there, and so that we need to definitely keep them in our prayers. As you can see from the satellite, the storm has a very well-defined eye. The eye right now is currently only 8 to 10 miles wide, so it has a pinhole eye, and those hurricane force winds, like I said, only extend around the eye 15 miles, and you can see Dominica is right there. So it's just about on there as of this satellite image as of 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now at nighttime, the hurricane loses some of it loses some of its characteristics because of the nighttime, the heating of the daytime sun. So we won't be able to see the eye on the satellite during the nighttime views. But on the daytime views, you can clearly see this eye here, and you can see the band spiraling around it, rotating counterclockwise. It is encountering some disruption of flow. There's not a complete circular band, and that's due to some possibly wind shear. As you can see here, these bands of clouds are coming from the northwest. There's possibly some wind shear, but there's very little. Less than 10, less than 5, 10 knots of wind shear. So that's why the hurricane center is concerned it's going to continue to strengthen. It could get up to 155, 150 miles an hour within that little tiny 10-mile radius. And so I do expect that to happen tonight, and it will remain a Category 4 into the night, possibly getting 5 tomorrow morning, and then we'll go from there. But you can see how it's making its approach up into that northeastern Caribbean Sea and putting its aim close to Puerto Rico, close to the U.S. Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Barbuda. Like I said, they'll be fine. Montserrat, you'll be fine. Guadeloupe, you'll be fine. But there will be torrential rains and there will be tropical storm force winds because the storm force winds extend out 175 miles from the center. Those winds could range from anywhere from say 39, 40 miles an hour up to about 60 or so, 65. And so I think we can handle that. I think we'll be fine. And so just, batten down the hatches. It'll be over and soon. But for those in Puerto Rico, it looks like a direct hit as of now, according to the ensemble models here. The history of the storm, as you can see, it just started to become, it was a tropical depression here in the middle of the Atlantic, way out here, some 3,000, 4,000 miles out. And now it's just making this journey up into the chain of islands and just starting to make its journey here. So we'll continue to keep you updated here I want to continue to keep you updated. Once again, the next Hurricane Center advisory is coming out in 10 minutes at 8 p.m. It's just an intermediate advisory, so it won't be too much changes there. It'll be more positional updates. The Hurricane Center will issue another advisory at 11 p.m. once the Air Force hunters, hurricane hunters, have gone through the storm, which they are going through right now. and they'll make one more pass tonight. And that 11 p.m. update will have the new information, which I suspect will be another increase in wind speed and strength as Maria continues to intensify due to the warm waters, low winds above the storm, and things of that nature. And so expect that update. Continue to be safe, my friends. And I'll continue to keep you updated. Probably give you another update tomorrow once we get more into as makes its approach to Puerto Rico. As you can see, once it gets in the Caribbean Sea, we find out what we're working with here. But right now, hurricane warnings are issued for Puerto Rico and for the Lesser Antilles, and hurricane watches are issued for Dominican Republic and Haiti as the system will traverse there later on into Thursday, Friday, and later on into the week, my friends. So keep that in mind. The other storms that we have in here, we don't have too many in the basin right now. We have Lee, but Lee fizzled out. It's a tropical depression. This will probably be dying tomorrow. They'll probably issue the last advisory of that tomorrow. Jose, as you can see, is no big deal. It's just shooting rip currents up from North Carolina up to New York. Jose will be skirting out of here probably tomorrow night, heading out to sea, only affecting the fishes and the birds, my friends. And there's one look at the visible satellite. You can see Jose. It's actually extra tropical. You can see this dry air sucked in the center here. Most of the bands of heavy convection are way off to the east toward Bermuda and way out here in the middle of the Atlantic. So Jose is dying. It has entered cooler water, so it's going to be dying. Lee is dying. As you can see, it's not much left of Lee. There's just a little bit of clouds on the northeast side of Lee, but Lee is dying. That'll be the last advisory. I expect tomorrow will be the last advisory on Lee, and then that'll be done. And then we go to the O name. If there's something that comes off the coast of Africa here, and there's a wave is getting ready to come off us, so we'll see if that can get our O system out. Katia, you ever wonder what happened to Katia, my friends? Well, that dissipated over the mountains of Mexico. It came over here and it died. It just went in there and it died. So it's funny that we have the L name storm outliving the K name storm. In alphabet, these storms go in alphabetical order. So just want to give you a quick update of the tropical basin, the Atlantic, Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico is clear. As you can see, there's no storms here. It's all clear. And every other basin looks good so far, my friends. So stay tuned for updates, some more from the weather professor. Thank you for joining me. Everyone else is in my prayers for armor recovery. Everyone in Florida has power. In the Caribbean, a lot of people are going down helping out those who are affected in the USVI. And also in the military, have sent some people down there as well, and we thank God for their service, and we thank God for everyone that's helping out. NBA players are down there helping out. Tim Duncan, I know, he's helped out some his hometown in St. Thomas and St. Croix, so bless him. And just bless all those. And we're going to get through this. We still have 2 more months of hurricane season, my friends, October, November. So just be prepared, be safe. Get yourself a battery powered, crank powered radio and flashlight, and you'll be fine through the season here. So God bless, and I'll continue to update you later, and have a great evening. Bye bye.